Good morning, everybody. This is Arun Mehra from Samara Business Advisors here. And as we're seeing in the current UK marketplace, we're seeing a lot of activity on tendering, and in particular, the orthodontic tenders. And only recently we've seen the release of the SQ for the London Orthodontic tenders. And luckily today, I've got Farisa and Laura, two of our expert knowledge people on tenders, to give you a little 20-minute taster and understanding of what the SQ and how to complete that SQ. So let me introduce you to Farisa and Laura. Are you both there, ladies?
We are.
Hi, everyone.
Hi. Perfect, thank you. So I'll let you crack on and take it away. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, so it's finally here, the London Orthodontic SQ. And we've been inundated with people wanting to get some feedback on how to complete it, the first stage. So we just thought it'd be a good idea to kind of share our top tips and guidance on how to complete it. Firstly, we just want to have a disclaimer here that, you know, this is just a webinar. It's for general information purposes only. And these are our guidance and what we recommend, but we really do recommend that you seek professional help, especially with legal entities and
accounting queries.
Exactly. Okay, so our top tips using DPS Lite portal, which is the portal that the London Orthodontic commissioning team have decided to use.
So hopefully by now you will have all received your email to opt into this opportunity. First of all, remember your login and password. I'd write it down, to be honest, because you don't want to forget it at a crucial time and then have to wait for the password to be reset. So with your initial email and the contract, there is 5 attachments which we would strongly recommend you read. The SQ guidance document is quite a lengthy document, but it does spell out what the commissioners are looking for.
And our recommendation is really have a look at it, highlight it using a highlighter pen, and when you're successful to the ITT stage, always cross-reference, because a lot of it is within that guidance document.
So there's the clarification template. This gives you the opportunity for any questions that, after having read all the attachments, you have questions, your opportunity to ask the commissioners for more clarification. The commissioners will allow questions until the 28th of May, and what they tend to do is respond to the clarification questions every other day. So I would definitely suggest reading the document and getting those questions in as soon as possible.
So the project timelines have also been declared, and so we wanted just to make sure that you are aware of these deadlines. So firstly, if you haven't expressed an interest or logged into, registered your login details onto the DPS Lite portal, it's too late to tender for the orthodontics in London. That's right, Laura,
yeah,
isn't it?
That's right. I mean, you could try and speak to the commissioners, but I think they were fairly clear at the engagement event, and they extended the timeline to try and ensure everybody got onto the DPS Lite portal. But I think it is pretty much closed now.
Okay. So the first deadline is to complete the SQ, which is the 4th of June at 1 p.m. Right, and then you will then be notified between the 4th and the 11th of July whether you are successful to the next stage. You'll then be invited to do the ITT, and you've been given a 5-week window between the 13th of July and the 20th of August to submit your responses.
Which is quite a generous window compared to other tenders that we've seen.
So advice is to book all holidays after August.
So the other attachments are the service specification. So again, make sure you read it and highlight and understand exactly what the commissioners are looking for. After the engagement events, I think there were numerous questions which the commissioners have kindly shared the questions and answers, which may well help you when you're putting together your responses. They've also shared with us the pricing rationale and the range. And I think if you're going to be pitching at the higher range, although it's not at this stage, then you would have to have a very good reason to be qualifying for that higher figure.
And that includes the 10% uplift, doesn't it, Laura?
Yes, it does. That's right.
Okay. So the national figure is 56. So they've been really quite generous here.
And then the final top tip before we actually get into the questions on the portal is to save regularly. I know when I'm writing tenders, I tend to put the timer on my phone, and literally it goes off every 15 to 20 minutes to save, because there is nothing worse than having really thought out a good answer and then you have missed the opportunity to save. The other recommendation is to submit ahead of the cut-off date, because any subsequent submits that you press overwrite the previous one, so it will always be the latest version of the submission, but saving it as you go is absolutely paramount.
That's importance. A great tip, Laura. Okay, so let's go get into this, and let's complete section 1, which is supplier information. And what we've done here is we're just going to kind of highlight, we're not going through every single question, but we're going to highlight some of the
maybe not the obvious, what they're obviously looking for, just to a bit more information behind what various things mean.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so trading status, what does that mean?
So trading status is basically the body that you are going to be bidding in. So this could be a limited company, it could be a limited liability partnership, it could be a partnership, or a sole trader. So what we would highly recommend is that you decide on your trading status in conjunction with your accountant. Specialist dental accountants are probably better placed. And if you are considering selling your practice within the 10 years of the contract, advantages for selling, or it's easier to sell in a limited company than it would be in other formats.
But please seek professional advice here.
Yeah, definitely.
What's DUNS?
DUNS is a number. So if you are a limited company, every limited company can get a DUNS number. This is from Dun & Bradstreet, who are commercial agents basically, and they track the credit rating and standing of companies. You can get this by, if you Google Dun & Bradstreet, and you can obtain a DUNS number, and you provide your email address. That's usually provided within 24 hours.
And it's free to register, isn't it?
It's free, yeah.
Okay.
But basically the commissioners will get your Dun & Bradstreet score, or your DUNS number will provide a score. And for established companies with good trading history, you will have a good number.
But what if I'm a new consortium and I'm trading on a new company name?
So you will have a DUNS number, but the number or the risk rating is likely to be higher because you have got no trading history. but the commissioners are being very kind, and they're giving you an opportunity to put that information or other supporting information to mitigate that risk for them.
Okay. What is it? Why is it so important for the organisation to be registered with professional or trade registrar?
So basically, if the company, so again, if you're bidding in a company name, your company should be registered if it has the name dental or dentistry in the company name with the GDC. It needs GDC approval for you to have that. But you could have, for example, my name, Laura Graham Limited, trading as
Graham's Dentists.
Yes. And that would be okay. But for the limited company to have the word dental or dentistry, it needs GDC approval. So if you are planning on that, then just to make sure that you build it into your timeline.
That's great. SME, which do dental practices qualify?
So SME are small, medium enterprises, and basically 99% of dentists would be SME. Something that isn't an SME is someone that would be turning over in excess of 50 million euros or employ more than 250 people. So the likes of My Dentist or Bupa would not be an SME.
Okay. And who are persons of significant control?
So again, this is if you are bidding in the name of a company. Persons of significant control are shareholders who have a shareholding of 25% or more. So if you had 4 shareholders that each had 25% of the shares, they would all be persons of significant control. And when you actually go into the question, the information that they are asking for, you would need to provide for each individual person of significant control.
And that's things like name,
date of birth, yeah,
nationality,
yeah. So
address.
It's just so that they can understand who exactly are the people who own the business.
Okay. And bidding models, we've had numerous questions here on what bidding models should we apply as. Can you share?
So bidding model would be whether you are applying as an individual or whether you are applying as a consortium. And so this is the section that you would provide information about other parties in a consortium, or whether you're subcontracting and that sort of thing, really.
So this is the time where a lot of people have been, depending on the lot size, have been deciding to create a consortium because the actual lot is bigger than what they currently hold, so they don't have capacity. So this is where you really need to be clear on what kind of model you are going to bid as, and here really seek kind of legal and specialist accountant
advice,
support.
Yeah.
Okay, next section, section 2 and 3, mandatory and discretionary exclusion. What does this mean, Laura?
So mandatory, it's fairly straightforward as far as the questions are, and this covers off the most recent 5 years. And basically, if you answer yes to any of the mandatory questions, you will be excluded from being able to bid on this. The discretionary, I think there is a little bit more flexibility, and it's the last 3 years, and you have the opportunity to give more information for the commissioners to consider. But all I would 100% recommend is be honest, because if you don't say something and then during their investigations and searches they find out information, you will be excluded. So it's best to be honest, and if there is a extraordinary reason why something happened, for you to detail as much as you can at this point.
Okay, great. So this is a bulky one. This is section 4 and 5, the economic and financial standing. What do we need to provide here?
Basically, the commissioners here are really looking for the reassurance that the taxpayers' money that they are looking to give to somebody is going to be in safe hands. The last thing that they want is for it to be given to somebody and then they are unable to complete the contract for whatever reason. So really looking to ensure that you are financially stable and you have contingencies or ability to obtain further funds to make sure that the business doesn't fall over. So the first thing they ask for is audited accounts for the last 2 years. So if you're an existing business trading as a company, then this is something that you can provide. However, most dental practices don't provide audited accounts. You only need to provide audited accounts if you are turning over more than £10 million. So the likelihood is that you have accounts for the last 2 years. So just get your accountant to confirm that they were prepared and to the best of their knowledge that they are an accurate and true reflection of business.
Okay, great. What if I don't have audited accounts and I've just started as a new company?
So this could be for an associate maybe wanting to bid, or it could be for a consortium that are joining forces. So what we say here is to prepare a cash flow, get your accountant to prepare a cash flow, do a business plan, confirming what turnover levels are going to be. If you haven't got the audited accounts in the new company, you might have the accounts in your existing companies if you're a consortium. So it's a case of gathering all this information together. As you know, at this stage, the commissioners aren't looking for any attachments of financials, but
get your ducks in the row is what I'd say.
Make sure that, you know, if you are successful, that as and when the commissioners contact you, that you can literally ping back that information. So we're just trying to share with you what is likely to come down the line.
What's a letter of comfort?
So a letter of comfort is something that you can obtain from a bank. Basically, the bank, there's lots of banks that love orthodontists, and they're aware that these contracts that are coming up for tender and are wanting to support applicants. So basically, subject to you winning the tender, the banks will provide funding, and from what we hear, that this is for periods of time 15 to 20 years. So
well, that's quite good and quite generous.
Good. Very good. So then the other thing to maybe prepare now is if you have any very generous, rich family and friends who would be prepared to unconditionally lend you money to support this bid. What you would need them to provide is a letter addressed to the commissioners, confirming the funds that they would lend you unconditionally. They would also need to prove that they have the money, so a copy of a bank statement in the name of the person who is writing the letter.
And this is really more for the contingency plans, right?
Yeah.
So that we can show that there is a buffer if required.
Yeah, and also perhaps if it's a brand new operator who is going to have to find premises and kit them out. You know, there's a lot of capital expenditure there, and the commissioners want to be able to see that either they've got bank funding, they've got cash themselves, or they've got these resources from friends and family.
And that all this information will help with the kind of financially modelling template as well.
Yeah, so this is all prep for hopefully when you get to the ITT, but it's things to start working on now so that it isn't such a big deal further down the line.
Okay. What if you're a parent company? What information do they need to provide?
Again, they need to provide the accounts if they're not audited, for their accountant to confirm that the figures are accurate and reflect the business.
Okay, great. So section 6 is technical and professional ability. This is basically the opportunity for you to kind of really talk about you and, you know, why they should give you an opportunity to tender or for you to win the bid.
Yeah. So relevant experience is almost your CV essentially. So your qualifications, how long you've been an orthodontist or a consultant or whatever position you are. And then contract examples really is to prove to the commissioners that you have had NHS contracts in the past and you've delivered or exceeded.
Yeah, and also note here that they have assumed that they have no relationship with you, even though you might know the commissioners. It might be somebody else that's reading this section, and this is your opportunity to basically state the facts of who you are, what you've delivered in the past. Even though you've had a contract for 20 years, it's irrelevant here. So really, this is the bit that you really have to kind of sell yourself, I guess. Right?
Yeah, I mean, basically, just so you understand, the questions that are on this SQ are split between a number of people, and all they get are the answers, and then they literally mark those answers. So they don't know who you are or who's actually written the answers. So you really need to sell yourselves, because there will be other people who will sell themselves. And if you don't, then unfortunately you might be overlooked when potentially you are the best person to deliver on that contract. So you really need to tell them everything that they already know.
Don't assume anything.
So with the contract examples, if you are a consortium, then all the people who are party to the consortium should detail their contracts. For people who have just a single contract at the moment, detail that. If you've done any non-recurrent UOAs, detail that. Any PDS, additional contracts that you might have done short term, or even GDS on the general dental side. Basically, it's proving to the commissioners that you understand the requirements and you are able to deliver what is required of you.
And also, don't just limit this to orthodontics. It might be general dentistry or IMUS contracts. You know, just really talk about anything NHS tender related.
And if you have been successful for a tender elsewhere, again, give the details, because that shows that you are a good bidder.
So, lead or partner, what does that mean?
Sorry.
If you are...
so with the... if you're the lead practitioner...
This relates to the subcontractors and leads. So if you are the main provider and you're subcontracting, basically how you're going to maintain that relationship. That's correct, yeah. Right, Laura? Yeah,
so it's just understanding the arrangements and how you're going to track the performance of any partner or subcontractor that you're going to be working with to ensure delivery of the contract. So commissioners really want to understand how you're going to sense check that along the way.
Okay, question 6.1, there is an attachment in the actual portal with an example of a table, which basically looks at subtractors and delivery of contracts.
Yeah, so it's like start dates, end dates, the amount of the contract and that sort of thing. So
that should help you too.
Yeah, definitely. But I mean, it's quite easy to miss because it's not actually on the main body. It's when you're going, and it's on the bottom right hand side.
So again, management of delivery of subcontractors. How are you going to ensure delivery of contract? You know, if one of the subcontractors isn't able to deliver, are you going to be able to have capacity to deliver that contract? It's kind of like, what provisions are you going to put in place there?
Yeah. I mean, it's all about ensuring that whoever is awarded the contracts are going to be able to deliver.
So what if I'm an associate or hospital-based orthodontist?
So 6.3 on the portal, if you can't provide at least one example of delivering on the contracts. So this is really your opportunity in 500 words to explain what your background is. So it may well be that you are the only associate performing on a PDS contract. So although the contract isn't in your name, you've delivered it. So that would be the example that you would use there. Or if you are a consultant in hospital, again, you would still have targets, KPIs, service delivery that you have to achieve. So again, this is your opportunity to bring out your delivery of the service that you're providing.
Okay, great. And how do we address under delivery on non-renewal of previous contracts? What does that mean?
So basically, this is where potentially somebody has had a contract terminated or not renewed in the last 24 months. So you just need to declare exactly the circumstances around this, and you've got 500 words on the portal to detail this. Basically, the more you can detail to mitigate the reason, then that would be more likely to be sympathetically heard by the commissioners.
So they're really giving you every opportunity to kind of explain, aren't they, here?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's unfortunately it's a bit of a sales pitch for you to present to the commissioners your best case.
Okay, so let's address sections 7 to 10. What's the Modern Slavery Act and how can we ensure that we're compliant here?
So this doesn't just relate to you and your immediate business, this is to do with all your supply chains. So they need to ensure that you're not importing from potentially countries where unfortunately there is still modern slavery. So it's making sure that you understand your supply chain and that everybody is employed and cared for as they should be.
So it's basically your suppliers where you may get your brackets from or your wires from, as well as your laboratories.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, great. And what insurance cover are they looking for here?
They've spelt it out, to be honest, with the employers, public liability, professional indemnity and clinical negligence. So this isn't something you need to have in place at this moment in time. It just needs to be, you need to agree to have cover of that level if you are, or when you are successful.
Okay. And professional registration, this means that you're basically on the GGC register and that you are compliant with ECPD.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just continuous registration, and that you have not been suspended or otherwise in the last 3 years.
Okay. And regulatory reports?
So this is basically if you have had any complaints or notices. So if you've got any complaints going on against you at the practice, then you should share this. If there's anything that has been escalated and gone to your indemnity insurance or indemnity, then again, this is declared. Basically, you need to be telling the commissioners exactly what, if there is anything, because they are likely to find out if you don't share it.
Okay. So final sections are sections 11 to 15. Information governance. This is to ensure that you are actually aware of information governance, that you are registered with the IG toolkit, and they expect you to be kind of registered up to level 2 with an action plan on how you're going to achieve level 3. You know, the recommendation at Samara is try and achieve level 3. Yeah. But they are very kind as well. They've also given you a link in the question itself, so you then can go and make sure that you are registered there. So claims, proceedings and judgments, I think Laura's touched upon that already, but they just really want you to make sure that any claims and proceedings or county court judgments you've got against you, that you declare them. Yeah,
and this isn't just about patients, this is also staff. So if you've had any issues with members of staff, this would need to be declared at this point.
Okay, and the obligatory undertaking, there's an attachment that you've got to basically look at and sign, read and sign.
And then scan it back up as an attachment.
Okay.
Performers list, basically share your performance details.
So this means that you need a...
it's a yes or a no, basically, this answer.
Okay. And the last question is basically that you agree to be part of the managed clinical networks, and you will ensure that you are adhering to it, ensuring that patient care is the utmost.
Yeah, and just sharing best practices.
Yeah.
So that the whole area improves on the back of it, really.
Yeah. Okay, so that's our myth busting. Please, I hope you found that useful. Please do get in touch with us if you need any further support. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.